Music is our way of life as a family.
I just knew I wanted to be with my brother because we were best friends at the time. And
at the time.
well, still now.
Be singing after dinner, just singing all the time. We should be famous.
He called us and it was like, Jay-Z says, come up. He wants to meet everybody.
You're the first person that we've ever talked to as a band to reference bread.
Soft rock is such a vast genre, and all of those people have very different sounds.
He came to us and he's like, soft rock is lame.
No, don't, no, okay, all right, we're gonna wrap it up. No, not while we're sitting here.
There is no Infinity song without Victory. It's not possible. She's a founding member of the band.
Hi everybody, we're giving away 3 Infinity Song vinyls today of the brilliant new album Essentials, signed by the band. So in order to enter the competition, you need to like and subscribe and tell us what your favorite song is in the comments section. Speak soon. Infinity Song, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
and
you.
It's Abraham, it's Angel, Momo, and Israel.
Yeah.
I got it right. So you're doing a show in Prague tonight. It's going to be exciting.
We're excited.
It's your second time here, isn't it, I think?
No.
No, first time?
First time, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, Prague is famously one of the most beautiful places in the world. And so when we saw it on our tour schedule, we were so excited to just get the privilege of singing in such a famous place.
Yeah, you'll have a great time. The Prague audiences are very open and sort of they embrace you from the beginning. It's not, as we were saying earlier on, like impress me stuff. It's like, we want to have fun. They want you to do well. They want it to be a success. Is that kind of audience. So it's not like you have to work very hard to win them over. They're with you from the beginning, which I find really refreshing. Some towns, a little different than that. Everybody wants to be impressed.
Yeah.
I'd like to, if I could, go back to the very beginning. I mean, how we try to do things here is to get your story from the beginning to the end. So I like to do things chronologically if possible. Mm-hmm. So you guys were born in Detroit.
Yep.
So, yeah. The right side of the tracks, the wrong side of the tracks? What part of Detroit did you grow up in?
Well, is there a right side or a wrong side?
The tough part.
It's two rights, but one is challenging. Definitely, we were born on the challenging side,
right?
I would say, and to an extent, it's still challenging when you become a touring musician. A lot of the game is challenging. That 1% or 0.5% is reward. So I think we were born for this job.
And there was 9 of you.
9, yes.
Wow, it's a big
There's
family.
9 of us. 2 parents.
Shout out to your mum.
Yeah.
Well done, Mum.
Yeah.
That's a big old gig.
Yeah, very much so.
9 kids.
And we were...
and Dad, of course.
Oh, yeah. And we were growing up, we were homeschooled for a big part of the time. It's not popular in all parts of the world, but that was something that was important to our growth as a family and as musicians.
And what was the sort of onus of that? Why did your parents want to homeschool you rather than put you into school?
It was centered around development.
And also, if you know Detroit back in the 90s, it was a very dangerous place for people, for young kids to grow up. And so our parents are very much community leaders and into child development. And so they knew that putting us in the public school systems there was probably not going to lead to the best path. So they wanted to just homeschool us. And so that's what our mom and our dad just decided was the best for us.
Let's just say our contemporaries at the time don't have the same story. Our next door neighbor to the left and to the right, it's not even remotely close. Like, we're in Prague, and we don't know what the situation would have been.
So you were a very tight family, obviously. There's 9 of you, so there's the four of you are artists, and then your sister Victory as well, who was in the band in the early stages.
Yes.
And and the other four siblings, are they in music as well, or?
Loosely, music is our way of life as a family. So everyone is connected to music in one way or another.
Okay.
But, we have two older siblings and they're living their lives. And then our two youngest siblings are also living their lives. And so.
So you're number 3?
Yes.
Okay. So, but you're kind of like, you come across to me as the kind of the leader of the band in a way. Is that fair to say?
Well.
He's the older brother. So naturally,
very diplomatically said.
naturally, that kind of, there's a leadership role in that for sure.
Because obviously you're very tightly knit. Obviously going back to the homeschooling. So, did you see any disadvantage of that? I mean, because usually when you're young, you're hanging out with other kids your own age, in school and all the rest of it. Did you feel any kind of, you wanted to kind of experience that as a kid?
Yes.
Well, we did get it. So we did move to public school. So
Right.
And I probably, my experience was I probably overwhelmingly did homeschooling versus Momo, who most of her life was probably in public school.
It was like half and half. Yeah, I think, the older you were, the more homeschooling you did, and the younger you were in the lineup, you maybe did more public school. Yeah, but one thing I was thinking about, the reasoning for our parents deciding to go the homeschooling route is something I always remember them saying is that we are smarter than, you think. Humans in general, you're smarter than the public school curriculum, especially in certain parts of America. They have a very rigid schedule for learning. And I remember our parents just saying, you can learn this faster than what they're expecting you to learn it in. And you can read faster, and you can read better, and you can do math quicker, and you can do long division. And so being this super young age and being instilled with this confidence to achieve things because you can, not waiting for the green light from the teacher or from the school system or from the curriculum. And I think that really did set us up to believe in our ability, outside of what people, because there is a very rigid and strict timeline for when you have access to knowledge. You're only going to learn this when you reach 7th grade. You're only going to be exposed to this when you reach senior year of high school. But some of that stuff we might have been exposed to when we were 7, 8 years old, So kind of learning that education is all around you. Education is, there's no timeline, there's no permission you have to ask in order to be educated. So I would say that. So
you did 50-50. So was it a culture shock when you moved into the public school system?
Definitely. It definitely was. I think a lot of things in pop culture I was not well versed in. Some of the kids were asking me about some of the pop stars at the time, and I had no clue who they were. I only knew who Ella Fitzgerald or Pat Metheny or,
Miles Davis.
Yeah. So a lot of pop culture things were kind of foreign to me, and I was also very shy, So kind of socializing with people outside of my siblings was very tough.
I don't want to labor too much on the point, because I did kind of resonate myself a little bit with your story, and that was, I went to school as a kid in Dublin, but I didn't get on very well in school. I was kind of a bit of an insular kid. It was just go into the bike sheds and, pull my jumper over my knees and stick my head inside and just stay there till the break was over. I was a bit of an odd kid. And so it can be very, and it was a very tough school. So I kind of understand your parents in what they were doing and trying to protect you from it, and also building in the confidence, because I think sometimes that school system can be really, very difficult in building your confidence, and it just kind of knocks it out of you in a lot of ways. There's very little expected of you. But on the upside, I did meet some other great kids when I was, at school as well, and they became my friends for life. You meet a lot of friends for life. And I just picked up on you, Angel. You were saying you kind of missed it. You wanted a little bit more of that engagement when you were a kid?
Yeah, I used to really want to be in school like how I would see on TV.
Right.
And then when we did finally go to public school, I was really excited. I was like, we get to ride the school bus and we get to make friends, and which, I don't know, I think it's not how it looks on TV when you're a kid, but, and I also was very shy and like very quiet, but it was, I liked it.
So this is when you moved to New York. You went to the public school system, was it? So you were in Detroit, and at what point did the whole family? Because that's a huge thing as well. The whole family was all 9 kids in the family at that point when you moved from Detroit to New York.
Yeah. So we actually moved out of Detroit into a more rural area, and when we moved out of Detroit, that's when we went into public school. So, and we were in the country. It was a small town of maybe, 1,000 people, just an hour and a half north of Detroit. And so our experience once we entered school was substantially different than it would have been. It wasn't an inner city school. The environment was much different, and so
it was different, and it had its own challenges of a different kind.
Oh yeah.
So what were they, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. I don't want to.
I mean, it's what don't you want?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
I mean, it's
speak
part of
to
your
the
experience,
challenges.
I mean, it is character building. All of this stuff, for better and for worse, it's part of your life's experience. I mean, I grew up with a lot of violence as well in Dublin, where I grew up. Is a very tough area, so I understand that kind of challenge of it wasn't as dangerous as it is now. Say in some schools in London, it's terrible. There's a lot of knife crime in Dublin in London at the moment, and which is in the school system, in the public school system.
Uh-huh.
And was that a part of it? Because if it was in the country, was it a little bit more naive, maybe a little bit more kind of not as bad as, say, being in a public school system in the inner city?
Well, I mean, this isn't really speaking to the challenges, but one thing I will say about going into public school there was it absolutely affirmed like the point that I made earlier. I think I was 6 years old when we started going into that particular school, and I was able to skip multiple grades because my knowledge level was so high. And I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew I wanted to be with my brother because we were best friends at the time. And
at the time.
Well, still now. But definitely at the time, and I was so shy. And he's 2 years older, so he's naturally supposed to be like 2 grades above me. But I was like, no, I need to be with him. And so because I had the knowledge, I was able to skip grades and be with him. And then we both ended up skipping another grade. And we were always the top of our class every time, even though we were skipping grades left and right, is because, like I said, like our parents said, you have the ability to learn faster and more than what they're going to tell you. And so even when we did enter the school system, we entered still as the top of our class and being much younger than any of the other kids in the class.
Yeah, I've really noticed it in the lyrics and the songs, because they're of a very high standard lyrically. Just really beautiful narrative. There's a lot of thought, like narrative thought. I think you can only really get there if you read a lot, from you guys narratively. I really feel that, there's a lot of research. You just don't write lyrics like that if you don't have the education, really. Sounds a bit snooty, but I think it's fair to say.
Israel reads it. I don't know if you read a lot now, but he used to knock down a book every 2 days.
Really?
was every day.
Oh,
Correction.
but I feel like we're in a loop of like talking ourselves, like our education and what we've accomplished up. And I just want to remind everybody that we were born on the west side of Detroit, and we didn't. We just had love, and we had our parents, and they had vision for us, and we had faith in God, and faith beyond our circumstances, and it was because it's. I think a lot of people look at us, even in the United States, they look at us and think that we came from means,
Right.
like came from money, and that's a real thing that we actually fight against. And it's not because it would be nice to come from money. It would be extremely nice, because then we wouldn't deal with the struggles of not coming from wealth or not coming from the middle class. Like, we're scrappier than we look. I would say that.
I never thought that from reading your story. I thought, like, you guys are quite tough cookies in your own way. It's like you mess with one of you, you mess with all of you. You know, I wouldn't want to go up against you guys. It's like, there's that tight-knit thing. It's like, it's the gang thing. It's like, whoa, mess with one of those guys, you're going to have a lot of trouble on your hands. And I like that. I think that's, I can feel that, and I like it. I think there's a lot of camaraderie between you as siblings, and you can feel it straight away. So let's move past that. So you in Detroit, you moved to New York, a whole new life. So is that, what part of New York were you guys living in?
Key, I just want to backtrack a little bit, because we talked about like our home life and our school, but then there's the other side, which is our musical life, which is completely separate from like homeschooling. It's so our dad was a choir director in Detroit, and he ran like 5 or 6 choirs, school choirs. Ironically, we were homeschooled, but he was teaching in school. that might have had something to do with it. So we would be in school often, kind of workshopping music. We would work around the kitchen table at home on music, arranging music. We'd be in the studio recording music. We would always be singing as a family. That we'd be singing after dinner, just singing all the time. And then we'd go to choir rehearsal, and we would be section leaders in all of his choirs. So I'd be a tenor or an alto or whatever at the time. And I would lead the altos or the tenors, and then Angel would lead the sopranos, and then our other sister, Victory, she would do the sopranos as well, I think. And then our older sister, Liberty. And so we would have like this encyclopedic knowledge of harmonic parts that we would dictate to the choirs. And so that's the backdrop. We would be on stages all over the city and the state, and constantly working on music. And then in that environment, we moved kind of to New York when the economy crashed.
Okay.
And we got it a little early. It was 2006 for Michigan. And then the economy crashed globally in 2008. So we moved in 2006 to New York after, the automobile industry just took a nosedive. Nobody cared about music, funding music. They cared about surviving.
Yeah, I saw that documentary Michael Moore made about Detroit. You know, Michael Moore, the documentary maker?
Okay,
He did
yeah,
a great
yeah.
show on Detroit and the motor industry and how it crashed, and it was a really tough time, and still is to this day. Never really
It's
bounced
quite
back.
remarkable how much the manufacturing community, it's how hard the manufacturing community is hit by the whims of
Big industry.
Yeah, just it could be the president, it could be anybody. It's just like, and we experienced that, and that's what facilitated our move to the promised land, New York City.
Okay.
And Yeah, somebody else want to?
Say what?
Oh, talk about New York.
Yeah, New York time. I mean, was it exciting going to New York?
I remember the first time we went to New York, James Brown had just died. And that was that my first time in New York?
Well, no. 'Cause
We had
had
gone
for
with
the
some of the
choir.
choirs.
That was my first time being cognizant and conscious, and visiting New York. And I was very excited. And then we went back and forth for a little while. But yeah, I loved New York, and it was always super exciting. And then just relocating there was really exciting. I was really young though, you know, and it was heavily centered around music, you know. So for me personally, I feel like it was exciting, but then it was just kind of a responsibility thing also, you know, so.
So at what point did you decide you want to be a band?
The band, let's see. So it was me, Angel, and Victory
Just the three of you at first?
at first. And we started it, I don't even it was
Several years
years after
after.
moving to New York.
Right.
We had kind of gotten our footing. We were graduated from high school, for sure. All of us were graduate, or maybe you still had one more year in high school, but
Yeah. So we moved to New York when we were elementary school, and the Infinity song didn't start until after high school. So that's a long time.
And who came up with the name Infinity Song? And what does it mean?
So we went over a ton of names for a few months maybe, and then I came up with the word infinity, and our dad came up with the word song. And at first, it was kind of inspired by Destiny's Child, in the sense that it was Infinity's song. And then we had that name for a while, and people were saying Infinity's song, Infinity. And so we just dropped the other S to make it Infinity Song.
I see.
Infinity is another name for God, and it just represents our kind of roots in faith and what what our music is rooted in, which is all things goodness, faith, like positivity, inspiring people, and just that side of creativity. So yeah, you can kind of, it's kind of open-ended in that way as well. Like music forever, living life as instruments of God. But yeah.
So you put the band together and then you start writing songs, or you're always writing songs, and you all write individually as well, don't you? Mm-hmm. And and the first album was Infinity Song. Was that a record you guys made together to sell when you were doing street performance?
Yes.
yes. Yeah, and I think, and that's a part of the story that, on one hand, it's not explored that much, and on the other hand, it's oversimplified because people are like, oh, street performers, band street performing, then get signed. Mm-hmm. But we really had a whole apparatus around building a musical institution. It wasn't really, so we used to perform at Bethesda Fountain in Central Park.
Well,
and have you been there?
yes, my stepkids, one really hot summer, were jumping in and out of it, having a great time. I've got photographs at home of my stepkids when they were little kids jumping. We were there, my wife and I were there, and they loved it. It was just everyone was in the fountain having a fabulous time.
Yeah, and you know how beautiful
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
gorgeous, and there's that sort of echoey entrance into it, isn't there?
Yeah, that's where we perform.
Nice sound in there, so nice,
Immaculate. It's acoustically.
nice slapback. Yeah.
It's one of the best places in the world,
It's
I think.
gorgeous. Yeah.
And we performed there for, at least as a family, 15 years.
I would say, yeah.
15 years. I actually still perform there sometimes when I'm not on tour. I still go.
Oh, wow.
And so, and it was interesting because we would perform there as a family, and when we performed there on a Saturday or a Sunday, we'd be looking at 150, 200 people at a time wrapped around our performance. And speaking of confidence, as performers, isn't possible, like there is a musical euphoria that we experienced during that time that gave us outsized confidence in our performance. And we still draw from that when we perform on stage now.
Of course.
And so that early album that was independent, self-funded.
I like it, by the way. I think it's an excellent record, and I see what you were trying to do, and there's some sort of spiritual aspects to it as well, a lot of spiritual lyrics which you're expressing as well. But you can see the band growing in confidence, and I liked it. I mean, it's self-produced. I think the production, the drums are very raw, which I like as well, and I think it was a really good record.
Yeah, and it's so nice that we still have it, because I think that's going to be very valuable. That one didn't get included in whatever record deal.
Sure.
So it's very nice that because I think as people go back and discover it, I think it's going to be a piece of valuable musical history, I hope.
So we have two?
Sorry?
Didn't we have, I think we had two.
We did,
Yeah,
but
three?
one didn't make it onto isn't being distributed, so.
Or was it three though?
We had so many albums.
No,
Well, you've had
but I mean
Mad
just
Love,
the-
obviously, and
No, Mad Love was our first
On
album
Roc Nation.
on Roc
Yeah.
Nations. But I was saying before Mad Love, when it was the three members, I think it was, didn't we do three?
I don't remember.
I remember there was one in front of a brick wall. Then there was the one where you guys were walking.
Yeah.
Then there was one where you guys were in like pink colored.
Well, that's the cover. The one walking is Infinity Song. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
album
that's
cover. I've
outside.
seen that
Yeah,
one,
okay, yes. That was, yes.
Yeah, because I saw that this morning when I was kind of looking over my notes. And so then we get on to, you're doing that for like 11 years, as you said. Did you not go through the route of trying to get a deal, like going to labels with demos and trying to kind of get a record deal?
No, right?
We always wanted, of course, at a certain point, you get confidence and you're like, we should be doing this, we should be famous.
Sure.
And that was something that for a lot of our lives, we were like, we should be famous.
Well,
I mean, we can move to because we've only got a limited time. And I'd love to talk in depth about all these things, but we've got a limited time to get through this. But so we get to the point where a friend of Jay-Z's sees your sister Liberty performing with you guys, but he just filmed her singing a specific song, Nina Simone, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was, maybe you tell that story about how that process happened from then to getting signed by Roc Nation. Can you guys tell the story, please?
Well, it was our sister Victory. She was singing Nina Simone's "Feeling Good," and I can't remember who filmed it, but I don't know if you know James Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
He's the friend
Sure.
of Jay-Z who saw it and sent it to Jay-Z, and he told him, "You've got to check this girl out. She's the future. She has the voice of the future." All of these different things, and they have such a tight-knit relationship. Jay-Z immediately was like, "Well, let's, I want to meet her. I want to see what she's about." And so immediately, her and our dad, were scheduled to go to the Roc Nation office in Times Square and meet him and just do the whole thing. But our dad is always looking for a way to include the whole family and all of us. So he told us, wait downstairs. outside of the building, and I'm gonna see if I can get all of you guys inside. And so just wait for my call. And I think this was after school as well. I remember I had come straight from school, and we were waiting outside of the building, outside of the skyscraper. And 10 minutes after they went inside, he called us and it was like, Jay-Z says, come up. He wants to meet everybody. Immediately, we're super nervous, obviously. And we go up to the top floor, and we step off the elevator, and there he is. And he's standing there with like the biggest smile and his iconic fit, like white t-shirt, blue jeans, Air Force Ones. Him and his best friend, Tai, and all of the staff in the office. It's like a big crowd. They're all standing there and crowded around our sister and our dad. And he was like, come on in, it's nice to meet you guys. Like, oh, wow. And it just, honestly, and he's saying that, and he's standing in front of the window, and you see the New York skyline behind him, and it's just the king of New York,
Sure.
the king of New York with this whole city behind him. And
Surreal moment.
Truly a surreal moment. And he's welcoming us into his office, and with like such a warmth. There was such a warmth. I always remember that. And and we just introduced ourselves, and he was like, I heard all of you guys can sing, and your dad was telling me about you guys. And we're like, yeah. At the time, I think I was 16 or something like that. So I just was like starstruck. And he's like, so you guys gonna sing something for us? And we were like, yeah. So we sang 2 songs. We sang Dream On by Aerosmith,
Of course.
which was really fun. And then we sang another song by Tori Kelly. And I just remember
And Weatherman, didn't you sing that as well?
No, Victory sang that solo. So we sang 2 songs as a group, and then she sang 1 song as a solo. And I just remember we gave it everything we had, because obviously we've been practicing and working and just doing this, obviously, in such a real way up until this point. So, yeah, we were nervous, but with such a state of preparation, all you can do is just give it everything that you have.
And did you feel like it was provenance?
Certainly.
Yeah,
Yeah, you kind of earned it, You worked
I
hard.
would say, yeah. Definitely earned it.
Yeah, and your dad being smart enough to kind of, to sort of engineer that setup, because all these things matter. You've got to grab the moment.
Yeah.
You can't miss the moment, because the moment is important. It can change everything.
Absolutely.
And you guys knew that, and
Absolutely.
lived up to it.
I question, though, how many people work to earn something, and that story is one of those things where you can't really earn it. I don't think it's kind of crazy, because
You got to be ready for it.
when
The moment comes, you got to be ready, dude. It's like,
oh, certainly. What do they say? Preparation and opportunity.
a lot of
I don't
time
know.
it's just one shot, and it's first impressions means a lot in this business.
Sometimes we're still waiting for. I think it's many shots, though. It's one shot. It might be one shot at each level.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's kind of and I think people should know that it's one. It might be one shot at each level. You pass a level, you might have one shot to pass that level, and then it's on to the next one, and you have to pass that level. Like when you see a superstar, it's never because one shot changed everything. I don't think, in my experience.
Yeah, it's many shots. I agree, but there can be a moment where if it hadn't have happened, maybe another moment would have come along. But sometimes, certain things have happened to me in my life. I can only my own experience that if everything would have went a different way, maybe for better, maybe for worse, I don't know, but it was the right way for me.
Yeah.
And I think for you guys, you'd worked hard in New York. Your parents had, brought you up in the way they felt was the most productive way for you to grow up, to build your confidence. So the journey, those steps all the way to get where you needed to be. And so I think you can feel a little entitled. You know what I mean? I've earned this. I've worked hard for it. I think if someone works hard, I believe in meritocracy. I think, if you put in the hours, you put in the work, you deserve your shot. I mean, where you take it is another thing.
Yeah.
But you deserve the shot.
Yeah.
And you deserve the shot. You put in the work, your whole lives, your parents, everything. It's like, and you took, you grabbed it by the horns and went with it. And you're here now, and you're playing around the world. You're doing a world tour. You're making records. It's like it's worked. Yeah. And you shouldn't be afraid to once in a while stop and pat yourself on the back and think, you know what, we did all right. We've got a lot of work to do, but we've done all right. You have to remember to kind of validate yourself once in a while.
I will say, on Abraham's point, there definitely are, we are still waiting for a big shot as well. That was a shot that we took, and we feel like we aced. But there's still always another moment. If you look at obviously Michael Jackson, him doing the moonwalk, that was one of those moments that changed the trajectory of his life. But before that, he had so many different moments and shots and things that helped him to level up. But then you still have that one moment when the world is watching you and they're honed in and everyone's listening, and you take it and you run with it. So I feel like we've done everything that we could up until this point, and it's gotten us here, and it's been amazing and it's beautiful. But we're still always constantly working for that next shot that's going to just propel us.
And what do you think that is?
It could be, and here's the thing about that, it could be anything. I think for most superstars, it looks different every time. Madonna, her, MTV performance, that looks different than, maybe the next superstar's moment. Every time it feels very, very ordained or very supernatural. You can't really plan it. It's opportunity meets preparation, and then the right people are in the room, or the right broadcaster, the right song, all of these things, and you just follow your gut and you listen to God and you hope for the best. So I don't know if we necessarily know, but when the moment arises, it'll make itself clear.
Yeah, the biggest hope is that we're in position when the shot presents itself.
Right.
Well, usually it's having the material, the songs. I think this business mainly comes down to songs, having hit songs. And, I was listening, funny enough, I was going through what I thought would be my favorite songs on the Metamorphosis Complete record. And when I looked at the credits, they were all individual songs that you'd done, which I found quite intriguing. And then there was one altogether. I was looking at, what was it? It was Haters Anthem, which is yours, isn't it? That's your song. And then I think yours, the one I liked was Pink Sky, which is yours.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And then there was Slow Burn, which is yours. And then there was yours. What's it? No one comes close. And then there was one that you did all together, which was where's the one?
Metamorphosis.
Comedy, which I love as well because it sounds like Pink Floyd to me. But anyway,
Well, that was actually just Israel.
Oh, that was just yours. Yeah. That was just you. Fantastic.
I mean, it's all of us.
So I thought that that is interesting how we all write individually, but somehow it all comes together and it sounds complete. So how do you do that process? I mean, do you bring a song to the band completed and then everybody just learns their parts and you know exactly what you're doing, or do you get together and flesh it out?
I think each song really has a different process. There are songs that someone might bring and they're just an idea, and maybe they utilize assistance from other band members to flesh the idea out. There are songs that people bring, they're totally complete, and it's just like plug your voices in. There are songs that, like Metamorphosis, where it's not really a song at all, and we just all kind of contribute to create it. To this point, every song really has its own story. I think that's a part of our metamorphosis as a band is even how we create music. I think we're always constantly trying to learn what is the best process, what will yield the best results, what will really grab people's attention. I think that we're always trying new things in terms of writing, but also in terms of how we write and how we collaborate.
So did Roc Nation ever bring in other co-writers and want you to work with other writers and other producers? Because I know you're self-produced, like to help co-produce, and because obviously you're a very strong unit. I mean, I don't know the internal dynamics of the band, but sometimes it's good to have a referee, you know.
So that's actually an interesting story as well. So early on in our record deal with Roc Nation, our dad, who is also our manager, he had a really good rapport with the label leadership, the president of the label, and at the time he convinced her to turn over all of the recording budget to us.
Right.
And and there were a lot of conversations around, who are we going to get to produce this music? And early on, it was our sister Victory. She gave the first album of our record deal. And early on, it was a lot of conversation around, are we going to get this producer or that producer? And our dad talked to her and he said, you're a producer, you produce it. And then he was able to get the money from the budget to produce the album. And she produced that album on time and under budget. And they accepted it, I think, on the first try. And that pattern we've followed for the last 10 years. Now, obviously, now we're evolving. And so at this point, we're like, okay, we can produce. So now, who else can produce us? Or, you
Sure.
establish what you can do and you say, okay, what does it look like to get a top 40 hit? Or what does it look like? We already know we can write a song, we can produce. And now we're a little bit more collectively open to exploration with other collaborators. But, it's all about the energy. It's all about the chemistry and confidence in each other as creators. So we'll see what happens.
Because it's an interesting way to go. I mean, a lot of people do it, like Ed Sheeran does it, just writing camps everywhere you look at the moment, people getting together with other writers trying to find the hit. So I was just wondering if, you guys are open to that sort of culture of working with other people. Because I think back in the day, you must write everything yourself. But I don't think it's so much anymore. People just want the hit or want great songs, hit or not a hit, but want great songs, and they don't care who writes. I mean, some of the songs are ridiculous. You get like 9, 10 people on a track. You're like, what's everybody doing on that track? But I think if someone does a bit of a beat on it, they get a credit. Everybody does the hi-hat on it, they get a credit. And it's like, come on. But it is
none of that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it is interesting to you guys maybe moving forward to looking at producers maybe and co-writing with other, because I think it was a bit unusual, Roc Nation, to let you produce your own album, because that's a big endorsement, because most major labels wouldn't allow you to do that on the first album. They'd want a producer in, a lot of money involved, a lot of investment. So, they want the record to be right. So it's very unusual for someone of, the status of Roc Nation, and Jay-Z to just say, yeah, here you go, make it yourself,
Yeah, I think it really goes to show how much our dad at the time was advocating for our position and advocating for our independence, even while still being with the label. And really also, he's always been an advocate for self-exploration and identity. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And that's what you can't get with writers. If you start writing with writers, a lot of times off the bat, you can assume their identity. But now we've worked for a long time to figure out what is it exactly that Momo has to say, that Angel has to say, that we have to say as a band collectively. And now we can use that to inform, the way that the writing process goes as we start to collaborate with people. And I think sometimes you can get these songs or these hits that feel disconnected from who the artist might be, and sometimes they have a hard time doing it again because it's not based in an identity, you know? But I think because of the way that we've been set up, or the way that we have operated up until this point, if we get a hit, or when we get a hit, it will be so attached to identity, and it'll be so attached to who we intrinsically are. that I believe that we'll be able to sustain that and maintain it and grow it and keep it going, because it's founded in something. You know, it's not just 10 people in a room trying to throw something on the wall and see what sticks. You know, it's deeply rooted in real things that we've taken a lot of time to cultivate.
I think that's fair to say, because a lot of the time at writing camps are with people who go out on the writing circuit. You know, they get these artists signed to a label and they send them out with writer after writer, and they get quite disillusioned after a while. They don't know who they are, because, as you said, every producer, every writer puts their stamp on it, and, you know, their view and their experience on it, and it's sort of, by the end of it, sometimes the artists are, I don't know who I am anymore, you know. Sometimes it works, once in a while it works, but I've known lots of new artists being signed because, as I said, very few, in the pop world anyway, they just give them, there you go, make me a record. Because it's like, obviously did it feel stressful at the time, the first record? Because it's a lot of responsibility with a lot of money. So it must have been stressful because you didn't have experience of making a hit record. So it's like, here, make me a record.
I think it was buffeted by the fact that we were working as a family, and also it wasn't, so it was never this, and I have to be careful, but it was never this kind of situation where we were encouraged to aimlessly explore. We always had deliverables, and we had a strong culture of deliverables within our family. Our dad, who's here somewhere, he's on a call, but there were, and we were still very young at the time. Deliverables were always mandatory. So it was never like we got on a creative stream of consciousness and it was endless and we could spend endless resources on a creative idea. That was never an option. And so though there might have been pressure, and early on, there was expectation that we would go into the studio and we would come out with a song in a session or two. You know, you do crazy pre-production, you do crazy rehearsals, you'd sit with the song, and then when you went, very 70s, 60s, studio time is extremely expensive, you know, like we would work with live bands, you know, musicians, a lot of people getting paid, string ensembles. If you listen to the early work, you hear a lot of strings.
A lot of strings.
A lot of strings.
I noticed. Who did the string arrangements? Did you get someone in to do the string arrangements?
There were.
Depends on the song, really.
Because they're quite intricate. They're very, you know, they're proper, you know, high-end string lines. It's not something that was thrown together. It's like,
I think our dad might have found some people at Berkeley or something. He found some composers who were going to music school, and
I did some.
well, I'm talking about the early, like the.
Well, Matt Love as well. I know we worked with composers, but I know for some of the songs that I was spearheading, I sat down and me and the composer I was working with, Yoshi, we went through every song together and we, you know, bounced ideas off of each other. And I know Israel has his own story for how his songs were composed.
because there's even like bits of violin and stuff like that, solo violin. Like I like all of that, and even bits of, I don't know if it was accordion or squeeze box at the start of Hey There's Anthem.
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah, accordion.
Yeah, I like the accordion at the beginning, and all the strings. You know, there's a lot of thought gone into making things. I mean, there's a lot of folk elements. Yeah. There's a lot of pop elements. There's a lot of. I mean, I've heard you guys describe this soft rock. I kick back on that a little bit myself. I just think you're Infinity Song, you know, because funny enough, I was on my way here on the plane yesterday, and I got talking to these kids at the airport because the plane was delayed. They saw me riding and they said, "What do you do?" And they're like nosy kids. And I was like, "Well, I'm a music producer, but I do a podcast." So who do you know, what do you kind of, you know, what do you produce? I said, "Oh, kind of rock stuff, pop stuff." And I said, "Oh, you're from France?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "So you know M83 and you know Air?" And they're like, "No, we've never heard of them." I said, "No, I'm pretty sure you must have heard of them. Huge bands in France." And then I said, "Look, get your phone out." And it's like, "Get on Spotify." I said, "Look, put something from M83 in there." "Oh, we love that tune." tune. And then it was like, oh, we love that tune. And they knew the tunes, but they didn't know the artist. So I think a lot of young people now sort of, they work from playlists. So I think you don't need to be so genre specific. And I don't see you guys as genre specific at all. I mean, you're kind of lots of different wonderful influences. Like I was even, like on the latest stuff, vocally it sounds a bit like the Mamas and Papas to me. Do you remember California Dreaming, you know that tune? I just think that sounds like you guys when it goes into the chorus. You know, it's that kind of, you know, Laurel Canyon feel. It's up, it's positive, it's a beautiful blend of harmonies. Did you ever listen to Mamas and Papas?
Yes, of course.
And then Bread as well. And
We love Bread.
Bread.
you know, great band.
You're the first person that we've ever talked to as a band to reference Bread. And we love, like, Bread is a huge influence on our...
I will do everything I own. Give you my heart, my life, my home.
Yeah.
I will give everything I own just to be happy back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
great tune.
what I would say on the soft rock note, and I was thinking about it earlier when the question was, what's that next thing gonna be that's gonna open up the airwaves for you guys, or the next level? And I thought about it, and after our Mad Love album and after our first album, and we were thinking about what's our next thing gonna be
Sure.
several years ago. And that one of those moments for us back then was when we did pivot into the soft rock genre and shaping ourselves into that identity and making that pivot. It was like kind of one of those things that really changed the landscape for us as a band. It really, like, it was like an instant shift almost. When we made that change, it was like we came into ourselves as a band.
Sure.
So a lot of the stuff that you see online from us now happened after that shift. And I think sometimes that next level, you know, it might be something external that happens, but sometimes it's also just knowing who you are a little bit more, so much so, and seeing yourself even clearer so that now the world can see you even clearer and more than they ever have before. But a lot of, you know, soft rock, I think, means something different in around the world than it does in the US. But that genre, I think it works so well for us because it's very, very, very specific. It's very niche, and it's a wide open lane. Like, you don't really hear about it as much. You hear about pop, you hear about, you know, rock, but specifically soft rock. There was something about, like, taking that space that just kind of opened up a lot of doors for us. So,
But I would wager, you know, like, sorry, I'm not being contrary here, but like, I love the new single, London Foxes.
Oh,
and
right.
that sounds like just pop tune to me. Like, I mean, in the nicest sense of the word, it's a brilliant pop song. And I love the arrangement, it's fun, and I love the video. Like, who's that, like, riding the horses, you know? In the video, yes, it's fun, and I love that. And that's a really brilliant pop tune. So, and you wrote that, didn't you? You wrote, so that's a different shift for me, direction-wise.
yes, and I will say we are making more shifts. So back when we decided the soft rock pivot, like, that was years ago.
Sure.
And now we are like, okay, we've done that, and now we're working towards more shifts into not just soft rock, but like rock and pop.
And pop, even it's a reggaeton beat. Let's be honest, that like 3/4, you know, that you put on the drums. I mean, it sounds like it to me anyway. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. You're exploring pop now, and you know, it's a broader canvas, and that's a huge area. And again, I think you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to. You can. The next track could be like a Mamas and Papas song. You know, I feel the world is different now, in that you don't have to be so super focused, you know, like sort of with parameters, musical parameters. You know, you guys have a lot of different inputs into your music and you're exploring it. I think people will love you for it. You're all bringing something different to the table. Like as singers even, you know, you remind me of like Frank Sinatra kind of voice, which I love, and maybe a bit Cole Porter, and, you know, and then you've all got your different areas. Like sometimes you sound like the Cranberries to me. You know, with your song, I think it's very Cranberry sounding. You know, you've got that classic pop male voice, and you know, and you're like the singer-songwriter, and it's all these different kind of chemistry of voices coming together, and it just, when you finally get into harmony, it sounds beautiful.
I will say that is also another plus side of, you know, labeling ourselves as soft rock. I think soft rock is such a vast genre. On the one hand, Bread is considered soft rock, but then Fleetwood Mac is considered soft rock, but then the Bee Gees are considered soft rock, and all of those people have very different sounds. You know, the Bee Gees have such a soul influence. There's so much soul influence in their sound and in their harmonies and their harmonic structure. So I feel like what drew us to it was the fact that so much ground can be covered under one umbrella. And the variance of our voices, Abraham having such a different voice than Israel, Angel having such a different voice than me, but soft rock being that umbrella that we can all come together under and kind of be unified.
Sure.
You know?
It's definitely, I think this is a conversation also about genre. Right. And in the UK, what we're discovering is that it's a lot less rigid. The rigidity around genre is so much less versus the United States.
I would say that's fair to say. In the UK, nobody uses the word soft rock in the UK.
Yeah, we
nobody.
heard that.
Our publisher, our publisher was like, "Are you sure?" Because we signed a publishing deal in the UK, the Universal Music Publishing, but in the UK. Mm-hmm. And he came to us and he's like, soft rock is lame.
Yeah, it would be kind of seen. That's why I didn't want to sort of say that, because I don't see you like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I see you as a lot more, I hate to use the word edgy, but you know, you're just more radical than that. And there's more of a kind of, I think that's just, the UK is very like that. It's just your infinity song. That's who you are. Nobody cares about being genre specific. They're like, it's fine in the UK to be absolutely non-genre specific.
Yeah,
and
you know, you don't have to find a tribe anymore, for the lack of a better expression. You know, it's like everybody's listening to everything. You know, like people are listening to Metallica women, they're listening to Destiny's Child, they're listening to Beyonce, they're listening to Nirvana. Everybody's listening to everything now. I think that time is gone, for better or worse, because sometimes it was great to have an area you could go into and there's a fan base and, you know, people who are interested in music. But in the UK, and from talking to those kids the other day in France, they're just saying they're just listening to a ton of music, in a way, not in a good way, that they don't know who the artist is, they just know the songs because they're just listening to playlists, you know, with their friends, and the songs come and, you know, one after the other, and they're not even sure who they are. But I think your own individualism here, I'd say in Europe and in the UK, you're just infinity song. That's it. And you got your own sound, your own experiences, your own blend. You're like nobody. You know, I mean, I hear lots of different things in your music, as you will with everything. And if I try and decipher it, where the influences are, like even with your guitar work, I hear a bit of John Mayer in there. Mm-hmm. You know, I bet you listen to John Mayer. Yeah, because I can hear it in the playing.
You're good.
Well, I listen, you know, and I'm a producer myself, so it's my job to listen and to understand how to break things down and find where the sweet spots are, where you can develop an artist and help them develop. And I can see you guys developing as songwriters in your own way. And I'll just say one thing. So when you were with Roc Nation, Roc Nation were putting out your sister's record first, and then the next part of the focus was to put out your record after that. Isn't that how it went? So you put out the record, your sister put out her record, then you put out your record, and then your sister left. Was that a tough period? Like, was there a little rocky moment there? Think, what's happening here?
That was extremely rough. And it's hard to articulate the challenge of that time, even though Metamorphosis came from that time. Metamorphosis and Metamorphosis Complete came from that time, and the pivot into what we're doing now came from that time. But it was a crisis for sure, looking at her now and seeing the music that she's doing, and looking at the music that we're doing, we know that it was kind of something that probably needed to happen, but learning and growing through that was challenging. Just on a creative side, just creatively, Victory. If you listen to the early work, you can see her DNA, her specific musical DNA, played a substantial role in the creation of that music. And she was the dominant songwriter and one of the dominant producers. And vocally, we leaned on her substantially for the early work.
Mm-hmm. She sounds like Corinne Bailey Rae to me a little bit. I don't know if you know Corinne Bailey Rae.
Yeah, of course.
Reminds me a little bit of Corinne Bailey Rae.
Yes. So that was something that we had to evolve and learn through. But we're grateful for how we've been able to kind of flourish,
rise above it, and create your own new sound. And to be honest, I wouldn't say sorry, Victory, I don't miss you.
No, don't. No, okay, all right, we're going to wrap it up. No, not while we're sitting here. Remember what we said.
No, but in the sense that you guys have developed yourselves. It hasn't damaged the band. It's no other way of putting it. You've been able to continue quite fluidly. She left, it was obviously a bump in the road, and then you're here and you're still doing it. And listening to you as a band now, you still sound the same band to me. Vocally, I can hear her tone in there, but I think you guys are great. You've all got individually great tones. I love the way you switch it around, and somebody, you'll take one tune, and you all, writing your own tunes, and then there's the harmony bass, which is beautiful, and it has a sound to it. So, that doesn't surprise me that you've risen above it and gone past that. But it must have been tricky at the time. It's always a bit rocky when someone leaves a band, isn't it? Whoa, such an important member.
And she was, there is no Infinity song without Victory. It's not possible. She's a founding member of the band. It was me, Angel, and Victory's brainchild. So, and she's also the one who early on went ahead and learned the guitar, took initiative and grabbed a hold of the guitar in our family. She was the first one. And then a lot of the knowledge of the guitar was transferred to the rest of us. So there is no Infinity song without her. And what's cool is that she's doing her music, and if she had to listen to our feedback loop all the time, maybe she would be creating different music. And it's nice to see her stand in her own mind and in her own vision and in her own musical identity. Because it's quite rigorous in this band. It gets quite rigorous, and our feedback can be a challenge to overcome. I fear these guys more than I fear A&R. Let's just say that.
So do you still write with your sister, with Victory?
Not so much. We will at some point, I hope.
Right.
I hope so.
That's great that you're still very supportive of each other. She supports you guys and you support her. That's a beautiful thing.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, well, you guys are tight, as I said earlier on in the interview. So you played Glastonbury recently and Latitude. That must have been very exciting. I mean, Glastonbury is, you have to be top of your game to play Glastonbury. So that must have been a huge validation. It's probably the biggest festival in the world.
Yeah. Now, we were playing very early
Doesn't matter if you're playing.
No, I have to
10
say,
o'clock in the morning. It's like it's Glastonbury.
Yeah, I know.
I agree with
I
that.
agree, but I look forward to playing later. I'm sending that. We are so grateful that we had the opportunity to perform anywhere within the vicinity of Glastonbury. I just would like to sing for the people of the UK through the BBC. So if anybody's listening,
you're going to be playing, the Roundhouse, which is a massive gig as well. I don't think you realise what a prestigious gig that is in London. That's fantastic.
I've heard, yeah.
That's really up there. You get huge bands playing Glastonbury. That's a real validation as well. It shows the progression of the band and where you're going. And I said, sometimes you got to stop and just, go. I don't mean about bragging, but you got to, hey, we're doing all right. We just need to keep going, of course, but you have to kind of remind yourself that things are going great, because it can be difficult when you're touring a lot, and and you kind of miss a lot of your own little successes. You have to kind of stop for a second and sort of realize, hey man, we've really come leaps and bounds here. So those two festivals are amazing. I mean, what I'd love, obviously you guys are going to get onto a show soon, so we've only got a limited amount of time left, but it'd be great if you could sing us something. The best way to describe you guys is when you sing together. Is there a particular song you love to sing together? What's your favorite song to sing together? You can grab a guitar out maybe, and if you want to grab this, I think it's in tune. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I've never had a decent answer to a single question. I don't say my opinions too loud, I'm always second guessing. I can't take many chances, I just stick to what I'm best at. My personality, it lends to bad first impressions. What I give it all I've got. What I do to be something I'm not. Never planned to be so nonchalant. Now I'm stuck on autopilot. And sometimes I don't like myself. Can I be someone else? Someone who makes their dreams come true and drinks from wishing wells. Someone that they call lucky and I never seem to fail. But sometimes I don't like myself. Can I be someone else? But I give it all I got. What I do to be something I'm not. Never planned to be so nonchalant. Now I'm stuck on autopilot. You didn't have the confidence, you couldn't see your way through it. But look at all the things you did, look at your metamorphosis. Finally found the gift, and now you're on a rocket ship. You're standing there on that stage, all because you had the faith. You're basking in the light of day, a resurrection from your grave. like flowers in the breeze you sweat, uprooted in the dirt don't stay.
Thank you so much. Infinity Songs, thank you so much. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
Amazing.
Oh, that's been a
Have
good time.
Fantastic show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Abraham, thank
So
you.
nice to meet you.
Angel, thank you. Momo, thank you. Israel, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.